Hey Gwenters, and welcome back for another episode of Gwent Today. I'm sorry it's a day late, but it is not a dollar short. The whole reason we waited was just to get this update 7.1 patch notes on August 3rd, 2020. I know a lot of you are in bed and you are going to be waking up soon and enjoying the new content that is already here. But I wanted to run through, give you a quick update of what's going on. I think biggest, most important thing for a lot of us that we've been waiting for that was announced a couple weeks ago is this mill change. The ability to get these cards that we're talking about for new players is going to be incredibly easier. I mean, all you have to do is change this mill setting to be resource focused. And like I've said in previous videos, just go ahead and do that. Now, I had spent the last few days filming several Syndicate videos. I know that a lot of people had requested them. I personally love playing Syndicate. I love the lore. I love the art. I love the difficulty of the coin. I like it when I want to play a game. Syndicate feels like a game for me. And I want to preface this with something that I hope to see in a future season before I get too much further. But CDPR, if you're listening, I know this not everyone will like this, but please put your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a like if you like it. If you don't, you don't have to put a dislike, but go ahead and feel free to do one if you want. But if you'd like to see more of this content, always subscribe. But the big thing I would like to see is a PvE mode, right? So for those who aren't familiar, player versus player in other games is frequently used as PvP, and then PvE is used as player versus entertainment is what it frequently means. So, but basically, like, you're playing in a game mode that is against the AI or just like a pre-programmed puzzle. And I think if you have played through Thronebreaker and if you liked it like I did, the puzzles are actually a lot of fun. I actually looked forward to the puzzles more than like the actual battles a lot of times. And I think it would be really fun for a couple of reasons. Number one, Arena just isn't that utilized. I know they're making some changes. We're going to get to that. That's going to be really helpful to reduce the cost and make it a lot more fun to do. But it's not, you don't like get a whole lot of bang for your buck out of it. And it still has a lot of the downsides of playing a normal ranked match, in that, like, if you step away to go to the bathroom or you're watching a TV show and something cool comes on, you can't just get distracted. And I think we all like that, but I would personally think a huge thing that I would love from Gwent is a PvE system where I can do that a little bit more passively, where I can play it like I played Thronebreaker, where I sit down for long stretches and do it while my son's asleep. But when he's not, I just want to like have it so I can set it aside when he wants me to go grab his water bottle, right? So those are things I would really like to see in this next patch. I know that's probably a bit of a long shot. I know other people are just purely focused on ladder. Look, I like it. I think it's fun. But for a lot of us, it's not so much fun, especially when you're up against Skellige lately. So I think that's one big thing I think that would improve the game. I also think, to CDPR, it would be extremely helpful for new player recruiting and retention. I think that the current tutorial is okay, but it's not super great. It doesn't explain a lot of things, and a lot of cards are very complex and have very complex interactions, and it could be a good way to help you understand those things without the high intense stress of losing a ranked match, which, granted, when you're ranked 30 isn't that meaningful, but it does matter, and we shouldn't be flippant to act like it doesn't. But even me, playing in pro rank, got super annoyed at Vivaldi Bank missing the very last sentence on there, saying that shuffle all cards back afterwards, trying to work that in with excommunication. But that's a bit of a digression. So anyway, big things here. So resource focus. This is going to be really good. Help us get new cards. I also think, to my point about PvE, and the reason I thought of that is it could be a really cool way where you could like build in certain cards, a lot like how Thronebreaker automatically gives you like Lusty Warp and Reynard and several other really good cards that are still very potent, but are kind of tied to that game. We could have a specific expansion with new cards, maybe tied to a specific character or stream of the lore that would be all part of this PvE section that we could then use in player to player, but would just be a benefit to going through this other part of the game. So anyway, enough of my thoughts there. So these were the details for the new features. Obviously, like I've said before, if you don't have all the cards, I think we all should be doing resource focused. If you do have all of the cards, then you could probably just do standard. So, but up to you. As to premium focused, I think only if you are like a devotee of Assimilate and you want to be able to tell the difference between cards that were created versus ones that you had actually had in your original deck, then that's where you should care. But that is what it is. So, new journey. There's going to be more rewards to unlock than before. Progression, option to progress above level 100, which I think is great since you basically, if you're pay to play and you want to get up there immediately, or a content creator who wants to showcase some of the new stuff that's further up on the journey, you shouldn't have to miss out on further rewards. So and the daily boost is back. New type of trinket is an aura. I think that I'm really excited to see what that looks like. Journey quests are going to more comfortable to track with them, visible on outcome screen and separated social panel. There's been some problems with that. I think that has been a little bit buggy. The descriptions of the quests and whether or not they actually fulfill as part of that description has been a little bit bugged. So I'm looking forward to seeing that change, that we will see. And then obviously this is clearly centered around Siri, even though they're not coming outright and saying it. We all know that that's what's happening, and you can see that in these card changes. And then the story panel, one story each week in a separate page. Hopefully that works a little bit better than last time, and you're not always forced to that same page every time you click on Journey. But that would be nice. So changes to Siri. I'm not going to get too big into each of the card changes. Know that I'm going to be covering these in further videos. I've always wanted to like the Siri cards. Siri is honestly probably my favorite character from the lore. Strong woman character who stands up for herself and takes what she wants, but's also a witcher, and the fate of the universe hangs in her hand, but she's always kind and compassionate. I love Geralt, but Siri is just something special. And her cards have been trash. Total trash. Like, they have like cool-ish abilities, but you can't ever get them to work. They're just so susceptible to removal. So anyway, I like that the regular Siri card has been given a damage buff. It plays a little bit like Herkia, so maybe we'll see that included in more Skellige decks if that wasn't enough for you. I don't know that I love the buff from 8 to 10 here, because I don't know that it gives you that much more value, but it is pretty cool. Nova changed from 5 to 8, I think is fantastic, and to have the provision nerf is much better. That's basically a worthless card beforehand. And then Dash is quite excellent in my opinion. To reduce that timer is awesome. The only thing I would have liked to have seen here is I actually would have rather seen the provision stay the same, but for the card value to be the power to be increased. That way she was just like a little bit harder to remove. I think personally I'd like to see it at least at a 6. That way each of the faction specials could remove it, except Northern Realms, because they don't have a 6-point removal, except for Trash Bloody Flail, which is a trash card. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But like Assassination, Parasite, Giga Scorpion Decoction, they all could remove her. But you couldn't just use smaller removals to get rid of her. There's a lot of 5-point removal cards, like Alzur's Thunder, for example. But that's kind of the biggest one I'm going to talk about. So, Ceremonial Dagger, give enemy bleeding by 5. I think that's interesting. Excited to see that. Crystal Skull, boost an allied unit and give it Veil. I agree. I think this is much better than Purifying, because otherwise it just sits on the board for forever and isn't that valuable. Primordial Dow, I'm glad to see he has gotten a boost here. He now has an ability to gain shield, so that's going to be nice. Then Master Mirror changed from 10 to 9. He's just really difficult to get to work in anything other than Assimilate, in my opinion. I tried him in a lot of different decks, and the like needing to play the card that it's changed, but you like it changes the left, you need to play the right is really really difficult, especially it just makes your mulligans that much more difficult to deal with because you have to think about, okay, how much do I care about the cards on the ends versus also in the middle. If you've ever played with combi, you've experienced that as like what's after combi is going to matter because that's what you're going to discard. But at least with combi, it's just after him. With Master Mirror, it's both, and so it becomes problematic as to like when you play him in the match because you need as many cards changed as you can in order to get a good chance of grabbing a good gold from that faction. But if not, you can really get skewered. So anyway, I think the provision nerf probably, in my opinion, isn't quite enough. It's not really workable. Then living armor provision changed from 12 to 11 doesn't make sense to me. The counters for living armor are not auto include at all. The true counters to him are like remove all armor, like Iris Shade. But I guess they felt bad because of this Karen Thier change where he can just grab monsters. But I'm kind of like, why do you feel so bad? This was clearly a broken mechanic in your game. Don't need to fix the card that was already pretty buff. There's a lot of give armor cards too, when there aren't like just give boost cards, right? Like a lot of neutral, like Wagon and Mantlet that just automatically give armor. So we might be seeing him around more, just in fewer of these Crohn's Karen Thier packages. So monsters have had some changes. I think Karen Thier is the biggest one. A lot of memes going around about Gales and Imlerith. Yeah, I do think that the Imlerith power is the one that's like, who's the person of the Wild Hunt that we like least? We'll just give it to that guy. And Imlerith is a dick, so he kind of had this coming. Set a power to 7. I don't know that it was like automatically. I know that that Slama mentioned that it was always like an include in an insects deck with drone, but to me it's not necessarily always the case that it would just be with insects, right? So I think that was a bit derivative there. I think that the set their power to 7 just wasn't that valuable, and the dominance where you like could set an enemy to 7 was pretty stupid because the whole reason you'd want to set them to 7 was because they're boosted out of their minds and you don't have dominance. So Imlerith would be the guy who strides onto the battlefield and, spoiler, kills a really important Witcher character all on his own because he's brutal, right? I mean, like, Imlerith is the fist for the hunt. And I think that smashdown is represented in Imlerith's Wrath, but not in his card. And so I think this change really doesn't represent this either. So I think it's just kind of kicking around this ability and don't really know what to do with it. I like that old spear tip change, just giving that veil. This is basically what we asked for, right? Damage a random enemy unit by 1. Great change. Don't know why they didn't have it this way in the first place. But that is what it is. So anyway, but so if you had played him before or played against him, you know that he did damage a random enemy unit by 1, ignoring armor, which was stupid. Second wind changed from 11 to 12. I think that this was exactly what I had said as well. So glad to see them making this change. They can now only resurrect a provision 9 or less from the graveyard. So that's going to take out Dagger. It's going to take out Wild Boar. It's going to take out Morkvarg Heart of Terror. It's going to take out Harald. So all of those things now become more susceptible to removal. Candidly, I think Skellige's going to suck again, if you want my true opinion. I think that they have a hard time knowing when to stop, and they have had that again. And we're going to get down to Syndicate, and I think we'll kind of just jump through these. Rupture has changed, where it damages by the base power. That's great. Trigvi from 4 to 5. So he's gone back up. His Rupture is just less intense. Berserker's Berserk increased from 2 to 3, so he procs less damage. But I do think that'll just force him to change faster, and so he'll be like you use him at the end of the round instead of the beginning of the round. So I honestly think this was probably a better thoughtful change, but doesn't dramatically changed the card. I think those ones look a little bit better. Then lots of other randoms. Adalia changed from 11 to 10, and now a base Northern Realms unit. I like this. This makes sense. I know people might be annoyed, but it is good. Visigeard with no formation is fantastic in my opinion. It was always kind of broken and wrong, and it is what caused the nerf to Uprising from 4 to 3 charges. And I think that they should change it back, in my opinion, because it is a good ability, but it is not great, and it is not as great as the other leader abilities. So, and then a bunch of other things changed. Vest change was needed. I think I'd mentioned that before. Siege support is fantastic. It is now a very worthwhile card to include if you are using, if you need some zeal. And then the soldier. Did we ask for that or what? Did we ask for that or what? This was important. Although now I do have to say that we did talk about this as like, it has good and bad. We actually did want that. We did want those shields to get removed, but it makes more sense. I wish they would fix the War Elephant to work better. It's like such a cool card that nobody uses. Scoia'tael, not even gonna bother talking about them. We'll do a deck on them. They really didn't do anything to fix them. They still suck. In my opinion, basically you still have to play elves, and it has to be a tempo play to just to agitate your opponent, force them to play cards they don't want to in an order that they don't want to, and if you don't get that going for you, you're kind of hosed. But it does have good removal, I guess. Syndicate, here's the big ones. So Jacques is now cool. I mean, we'd complained about this, but he is like always a final play. And now you have some reason to not make him final play, where he gets this profit category, right? So whenever you play a Firesworn card, gain 1 coin. Then he has a 1 fee where he can boost himself by 1. So he is now a spender, and he makes you coins, which I think synergizes much better with Syndicate. He might be something we include in some of our new decks. More on that soon. Hidden Cash, they did this wrong. In my opinion, they did it backwards. They didn't need to nerf the provision cost. That was unnecessary. It's already has sucked, so I don't know why we had to walk it back. And the coins per round from 2 to 3 was not the right way to fix it either. But I think that this is going to dovetail with some other of the cards that I think they fixed, but I think they forgot about some other ones. So lots of changes here. Witch Hunter, Salamandra Assassin, Professor needs to go down to like 10. He's not that useful. He's really hard to use. Like Graydon is the one good bounty play, right? Graydon and maybe Ewald, but other than them, it's kind of hard to get that synergy with bounty. I know some people played it this season, but it was only successful this season because no one included Purifies. So the other thing I was going to say here, so they kind of tucked these in at the bottom, but this is what they changed. So Von Herst's Horde has changed from 5 to 4. Mutant Killer's Horde from 5 to 4. Tidecloak Ransackers have changed in power, and Bouncers have changed in power. This one was really important. They now have 2 thinning combo cards, so they have Bouncers as well as the Ransackers. So, sorry, not Ransackers, but the sewer pirate dudes. So you can actually include 4 of those and get some good thinning going on. And then Diaz Irae provision changing from 10 to 9 I think is really good. It was kind of hard to use. I don't think it's going to get as much play, but I'm hopeful that Von Herst will be more usable with this Horde. So if you use him with Horde ability, he now will only cost 2 instead of 4, and he was 3 before. But like I've said before, I think this misses on some other cards like Saul. The needing to have 1 coin is just so much different from the need to have 0 coins. And I think that it just made more sense to have a few Horde cards that were 0 cost or very low cost, and that prevent you from needing to go up to 9 on Flying Redanian to include a spender so that you go exactly to 9 so you're not missing points from your coins. And that just I think leads to slow cadence, slow tempo, and difficulty in place. But anyway, this has been definitely one of my longer videos, and so I apologize for it not being super concise, but I do want to say there's a lot of content here. Again, I think they need to include a PvE mode. Just be much more fun to engage with the game. Also be great as a content creator to have more stuff to talk about. But I think there's a lot to look forward to, and there's going to be a lot to talk about this week. So look forward to some more Syndicate decks coming at you. I made some. They're going to be tweaking them with these new changes, and I think that they are going to be significantly better. Look for a Collusion Reprise with this new Horde ability. I think that it's actually going to get some traction going forward. So if you haven't seen that video, please check it out. But until then, get out there and keep on Gwenting.